Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo Podcast. I am Joey Calvo. Please continue to help the victims of the California wildfires as well as the Texas floods. They do still need our help as they are rebuilding. And so tonight I come to you with a impromptu podcast. So recently, I walked by this place in Center City, Philadelphia. It's called PhillyCAM, and it's in the video description of what it is. So today I get a phone call from somebody who's been helping me since I've been unemployed and suggested it to me. And I was like, well, I walked by it, I was thinking about it, and I was going to look into it. Well, I decided to go online and research it a little bit. And this is perfect for this podcast. Perfect. Because not only does it do TV, it does radio, and it does online. So this is perfect for this podcast because at least we can start it here in Philadelphia. It's not going to cost me much to start it, but at the same time, being that I'm unemployed, I want to make this full time. So I set up a GoFundMe campaign at this time to situate why this needs to happen. And this needs to happen right away. Because I'd like to get this done before the end of the year. Would be great. Now, what PhillyCAM is, it's a media. It's a community media center. It's committed to teaching, creating, and distributing locally produced media content on cable TV, FM radio, and online. So this will reach out. It's like I said, I put the description of it actually in the video description. So this is going to start out here in the city of Philadelphia. It's going to go on cable TV through Xfinity, Fios, and etc. It reaches out to 1 million people. 1 million people right off the start. Plus, there's a radio station, WPPM-LP, and you could actually stream it online. Okay? And it would be great because then we can take this podcast and expand it out to Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, Seattle. So I'm raising the money so that could happen. And that way we would get the sponsor, that way we can focus on getting sponsorship along the way, as well as keeping this podcast going. Because we have a lot of guests coming up here in the rest of October, which we are in now, November, and December. And, of course, December we do the year-end podcast. This would be great to get out in Philadelphia to start. And then, hopefully, by January 2026, we can expand it out to Atlanta, Chicago, Boston, LA, Seattle, even more stations, and more Roku TV, and plus it's going to be on Apple TV and Roku TV too. So this is perfect for this podcast, and it really, when I went to look it up and researched it, it really wasn't a lot of money to really get it started. I mean, there's some certification I have to go through, but I mean, I could manage that. I could do it. Plus, like I said, I would make this full time. So, yes, I would be asking for support every month. So I would be doing subscriptions, website. I do have a merchandise website that I'm going to post on the website as well as on the podcast, starting with tomorrow. But every donation is going to help. Every donation is going to help. So, when you go to the GoFundMe page, you'll see the breakdown of actually what it is. Because for 1 year of getting this podcast out, okay, it really isn't a lot. Like, within, we'll say $5,000. But that's also to put it, it's all because when I go to these people, I'm going to suggest to have it put into the YouTube live stream. So that way it can still be watched online on YouTube. But you'll be able to listen to it live on the radio or recorded on the radio, as well as on Roku TV and Apple TV if you have it. And when this all happens, I will be happy to let you know so you can watch. And then the website is going to be used for subscriptions, for those of you to subscribe to the website, so that way you can catch everything and be part of any upcoming events that the podcast will have. One thing I'd like to do is have a birthday podcast live on TV. And yes, I took the idea from Howard Stern when he used to do his birthday radio shows from the strip clubs. Okay, so this would be in a very awesome location, just to let you know. It's already been picked out. And so I'm asking for you, the viewers and the listeners, to help. This is the perfect opportunity now to really support this podcast. You've been watching it for free, and I want to keep that going. Okay, but at the same time, I'm unemployed. So, every time I pushed out a GoFundMe campaign, everybody's like, well, you should have a job. Well, my health isn't helping me with job opportunities. Okay? Because my legs are not the greatest anymore. Okay? I've got a meniscus tear in one, and who knows what's going on with the other one right now. And I've applied at so many places, but no opportunity. So I think what God is telling me is this podcast is my new career. So I'm asking you to help me fulfill God's prophecy. This is what I believe. This is what God wants. We've got podcasts up the yazoo straight to the end of the year. Okay. And I want to keep it going for you folks. I really, really do. Okay. I really want to share this with you. I want to be able to have your opinion. It may even get to the point where with the TV show where it could be a call-in. Okay? Where it could be a call-in and being able to do it live, and where you can ask the guests live on air. on the radio, on TV. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to expand this podcast to new heights. Okay? I really want to do that because you, the viewers, watched. When SD herself came on, okay, last year, either this year or over the past year, you made her the #1 video live on YouTube with over 1,600 views. Okay? The next closest is not even 200. Okay? So I want to be able to get this out to at least 1 million people in Philadelphia to start and maybe pick up sponsorship so that way it's less stress on those that are supporting it through the GoFundMe. Okay? Because I want to really, like I said, I really want to get this podcast out. I really believe that this podcast can make a difference, and starting it in Philadelphia is going to start it. And plus, it's going to be on Roku TV, Apple TV, live streamed on the radio. Okay? Have it on the radio. And not only have it on the radio and doing it live on the radio even, or even recording it for the radio, is being able to expand it to, like I said, Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, LA, Seattle, Walla Walla, Washington, Dallas. Yes, I said Dallas. San Francisco, Green Bay, Miami even. I really want to expand this podcast out to where a lot more people can view it. Just alone, okay, if this podcast, when this podcast goes to Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, LA, and Seattle, it's going to reach out to 28 million more viewers. Plus Philadelphia, that's 29 million right there. 29 million people that would be able, okay, 29 million people that will be able to listen to this podcast, listen to the guests that are on the podcast. I mean, we have, believe it or not, I've got an adult actress coming on at the end of October that's really going to really bring out everything. And I can't wait to do that. Next week alone, I have the author who was on this podcast not too long ago, who actually did the last interview with John Lennon before he was shot and killed in 1980. She's coming back on the podcast because we're going to do a part 2 to it. Because there's more questions that maybe you may have answers for. Not answers, but you may have questions for in reference to John Lennon. Okay? And maybe Paul McCartney and, etc. So I want to be able to do that. And with this podcast going to be on TV and radio, and you, the viewer, listener, calling in, okay, it's gonna be just as great. Because if you folks call in or even come up with questions, we can make that show a half hour with no problem whatsoever. Minimum. Okay? But I need help, and I need it now. Okay? Because as of right now, this podcast could be ending soon because being unemployed, I can't afford to keep it up. So this is kind of an emergency, but at the same time that this is an emergency, this is also the opportunity to take this to the next level. And I really want to take it to the next level right away, because I know that once we get to that next level, doors are going to open. So go to the link on the screen. It's https://gofund.me/E346356B9. Go there, read everything. I even put up a recent podcast video itself with Bonnie Blay that got views. Well, I want to be able to take that and expand it out to even more viewers. So I'm asking for your help. If you can't help in one way, share it with your social media. Okay? Share it with your friends and family. All donations help. Okay? And on top of that, all donations will be recognized on this podcast. It'll either be put on the ticker on the bottom of the screen, or when we get on TV and radio, I will take a minute out and thank everybody that donated to the GoFundMe to make this all happen. So you get the opportunity as well to be part of this podcast. Okay? Because we want to be able to get more guests on this podcast. We want to be able to have awesome chats to where, you're watching it on TV and you're like, hey, I want to support this podcast. Here's how you support it. Okay? Each supporter is going to be recognized. And we will find a way for the gratitude. Okay? Either, like I said, in the beginning, you'll be mentioned live on the air. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. You're going to get recognition. Okay? Second is what I'm going to work on later on. But I need to make this happen. So this is the opportunity for you, the viewer listeners that watch this podcast on YouTube, to really step up, help support this podcast, okay, and really raise the subscribers even. Because the more subscribers we get, the better this gets. Okay? I want to be able, like I said, 1 million people here in Philadelphia on TV and radio to start. Can't do any worse than that. Except for right now. Right now, this podcast, when on YouTube, is lucky if it gets 20 views from a guest. And that's after I send the podcast link to the guest itself and they put it on their social media. We need help with the subscribers too. So subscribers, you subscribe to this channel so you can watch these podcasts, when they're live, or even when they're not live and it's in the repeat and it's in the regular channel. But here's the opportunity for you to be part of it. Okay? This is the opportunity for this podcast to really, really take that first step. Like I said, 1 million viewers, listeners in Philadelphia alone to start. And that's TV and radio. Okay? Every donation is going to help in reference to it. Every donation is going to take that step to make it happen. Every step is going to take this podcast to a new level. And then once we get to that new level, the door is going to open up. And more people are going to be watching this podcast. Even if it's on a weekend at 3 a.m, people are going to really be watching this podcast. And I'm going to be thanking you, the viewers and listeners of the podcast on YouTube, for making it happen. So here's your opportunity to shine for this podcast. Show me the love that you really have for this podcast. If you really think that this podcast makes a difference, I'm just telling you now, there's an opportunity for 1 million more people to see this. Show it to them. Let's show them that this podcast can make a difference. Because I believe they can. I really believe they can. Okay? And I know, and I believe in you, the viewers, listeners, friends, family, those that share it on social media. I believe in you will come through. Because I know God has it with you. Maybe you've been shy and saying, I'm watching these podcasts and some of them are boring and, I'm just watching it to watch it, not comment. God's got you watching it. God probably asks you to help support it. Because all the hearts via the donations is what's going to make this podcast the best. And it's going to start out, like I said, 1 million viewers and listeners to start. And then once we build up a sponsorship, add another 28 million. And that's going to, like I said, Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, LA, Seattle. And then probably add another 5 million within the next year after that. Dallas, maybe Miami, maybe Green Bay, maybe New York City. Okay? Here's the opportunity, folks. Let your star shine. Because I know in your heart, it can be done. And I believe in all the views that we've had, even if they were in the single digits, I believe in every one of you that watch these podcasts on YouTube. I really believe in you. Because those views make a difference. They may not make a major difference, but they make a difference. Okay? Here's the opportunity for you to come through and lift this podcast to a higher elevation. Because it can be done. And I know it can be done. And like I said, the description about it is in the video description. Here's the opportunity. I can't stress it enough. 1 million people in Philadelphia on cable, Roku TV, Apple TV. I mean, and then once we can expand it, and I'm going to be asking for sponsors through that as well. Okay? I'm going to be reaching out. So it's not just going to be you, the viewers and the watchers on YouTube. Once we get into that new level, then I'm going to reach out to businesses, okay, on TV and radio. And once we get that done, 28 more million people will have an opportunity of listening to this podcast on the radio. And again, if you know businesses in Atlanta, Georgia, in Boston, Massachusetts, Chicago, Illinois, LA, Seattle, Washington, if you know businesses that are wanting to sponsor something, here we go. Have them reach out to me via here on YouTube. Leave a comment. I do reply to comments, believe it or not. Okay? Because I know this can happen. And it takes you. Because, again, I believe in you. The viewer, listener. I can't stress it enough. Okay? This is the opportunity, literal opportunity, to really get this podcast rolling into a new direction. And I'm ready to take it in that new direction. I'm working on getting it in that new direction already. But I could use the support right now. Okay? Because I don't think, and I'm not saying a job will come up. Okay? But for right now, this is my job right here. Is entertaining you with this podcast with guests that will interest you and learn new things. Would I love to have Gregory Jabara back from Blue Bloods? Of course. Would I like to have Eric Essex back, the smooth jazz guitars? Of course. Would I like to have Bottle Carroll back on? Yes. Okay. Would I like to have Liz River back on? Damn yeah. Okay. Here's the opportunity to make it happen. Here is the opportunity. You go to the GoFundMe page, read it, because I explain that what this podcast is going to do. Okay. And once this podcast gets on the radio and TV, the doors are going to start opening. And it's all going to be because of you. Let's help. God wants me to continue doing this podcast. I actually want to do this podcast some more. I really do. I believe this podcast can make my years better. But it all comes down to help and the support. And I believe in you, the viewer listeners. Okay? The opportunity is there. The GoFundMe link is on the screen right there. There's another GoFundMe link in the ticker. I got to update that. Matter of fact, let me update that right now very quickly. So just bear with me one moment. But, and also, not only will we want to have it on the radio, but also the opportunity, okay, the opportunity, and the link has been updated to the bottom of the screen there, on the ticker. The World Broadcast TV Network, millions and millions and more people there. Yes, there's a cost to that, but again, it all comes down to you, the viewer listeners. Let's show that this can be done. And I know it can be done because I believe in you. Every donation helps in every way possible. And again, all donations are for the podcast. This is not going to not to me personally. Okay? Every donation goes to the podcast and towards what this podcast needs to do. Yes, this podcast actually needs better equipment. This podcast needs to join the membership of what's in the video link, what's in the video description. Okay? This is the opportunity that God opened up for me. And I'm going for it. Because he believes that's where I should be going. Okay. But I need help going there. Okay. You watch these videos, these video podcasts. You don't comment. You just watch them. Because the guest suggested you to watch them online. Well, now you got the opportunity to make a difference. But not just for me, for you as well. You have the opportunity to start reaching out to many more people now. Minimum 1 million. And that's just Philadelphia. Okay? This is the opportunity to make this a truly community service podcast. But not just in Philadelphia. But like Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, LA, Seattle, Miami, Dallas, Green Bay, New York City, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Nashville. Let's make this happen. Because I know it can happen. Because God believes that this podcast will make a difference. Expand it out. Even worldwide. And you that watch these podcasts after they're recorded live stream, show me that you want to make a difference for this podcast to make a difference in others. If I've touched you in one way or another, any of these podcasts in the past, I'd like to know. I want to know. And I want you to be part of this journey going forward. Okay? I want to be able to really take this to new heights. I want to start out with 1 million in Philadelphia. 1 million people in Philadelphia to start. Here's the chance to make the difference. Okay? Because again, I know that you will watch these videos and you'll be laughing like, yeah, right. Like, he's going to get 1 million listeners in Philadelphia. Well, if you don't, if you want to laugh it off and saying it's not going to happen and be a naysayer, then then don't watch it. Because this podcast is going to start making differences with or without you. Okay? So I am asking you. I can say I'm imploring you. Here's the opportunity to make the difference. Here's the opportunity to show me how much you want this podcast to continue, even if you wind up wanting to laugh at it for the guests that come on. Or eventually even come on the live stream and ask questions. Or once we get on TV and radio, it may become a call-in show where you get the opportunity to call in and ask your question to the guest live on TV or on the radio. And then taking it from there out in the country and reaching out to another 28 million people at least. And like I said, that's just Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, LA, and Seattle. And then once we expand that out and the sponsorships gets more and more, then we'll go to Dallas, New York City, Green Bay, Nashville, Kansas City. We want to take this nationwide, folks. At least nationwide. And then once we go nationwide and you still are there to support, then we'll go worldwide to where we could get hundreds of millions to even billions of listeners and viewers. Okay? But it comes down to you. You are the seed. You are the seed of this podcast. These podcasts are done for you. To learn, get to know, and even situate yourself with. Here's the opportunity to plant your seed in this podcast. Here's the opportunity to say, Joey, I want to go forward with you. I want to make this happen for Philadelphia. I want to make this happen in Atlanta. I want to make this happen in Boston and Chicago and LA and Seattle. I want to be part of it. I want to support you because I know you can do it. God knows I can do it. And if God's telling you that, here's the opportunity to let me know. Because every step that's going to be taken from this is going to happen. And my goal already is to be on the air in Philadelphia before Christmas. I want to be able to actually do a year-end podcast live on TV and radio besides YouTube. It don't have to be from Atlantic City this time, like I normally do. I want to make it happen here. Not in this studio, but the studio that, where it'll be put on TV and the radio. Here's the opportunity, folks. Let's make it happen. God's already told me, and I think he's showing me, that this podcast is my future. If God's telling you that this podcast is part of your life or makes a difference in your life, show me. Like I said, every donation helps. It doesn't matter if it's $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, whatever. Every donation makes a difference, and every donation will be recognized on this podcast. Because what I will do is every donation that comes through, okay, literally comes through, and literally you turn around, you go to the GoFundMe campaign, and you're like, Joey, I'm going to support you. Here's $50. Well, make sure you put your name. Make sure you put your name, because you're going to be recognized for it. If you don't want to be recognized, you just put anonymous. Okay? But I want to recognize you. I want to thank you for your donations. Okay? I really do want to thank you for your donations in advance. Because I know in the bottom of my heart that these podcasts are really making a difference. And I know and I believe in you, the viewers. Okay? Subscribers, show me that you're worth the subscription. You subscribe to this podcast. Here's the opportunity to show me that these podcasts are really worth it to you. Because I want to make them better. And the opportunity to really start it with Philadelphia and 1 million listeners and viewers on TV and radio, on Roku and Apple, okay? And maybe even further than that. Here's the opportunity. Go to the link on the screen, make your donation, and let me appreciate you. Let me show you my gratitude by mentioning the support that this podcast really does. because I know it can be done. And it will be done one way or another. So at this point, I thank you for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I thank you for subscribing to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. Please do subscribe. Please click on the notifications so when we do go live, you'll know. Okay? Please help this podcast get to that level to where it's broadcasted on TV and radio. This is the opportunity now. Okay? This is the opportunity. Because I don't know if I'm going to have another opportunity after this. And being that I'm unemployed right now and can't get a job, okay, and I'm not ashamed to say it, okay, because I've gone on interviews and nobody hired. And I think because of my age and also because of my health, okay, God wants me to continue this podcast. I think that's where he's putting my heart at. So if you believe in this podcast, you want to continue this podcast, you want to continue subscribing to this podcast, okay? You want to continue watching these podcasts through the guests. Here's the chance to make a difference. Okay? Here's the chance to make a difference. And I thank you for watching this podcast. I thank you for subscribing to this podcast. And I thank you for sharing this podcast with others. God bless you all as you give.